Hello and welcome to the Daily Climate Show, where we track the changes to our world and investigate some of the potential solutions to the climate crisis. Now, we'll start with the big one. It comes to an end today after 4 days of climate protest in central London. Tens of thousands of people took part in the event, organised by Extinction Rebellion in coalition with around 200 other groups, with each day having its own theme. Today is Choose Your Own Future, and not only does it mark the end of the protest, but it could be the end of the group's new, less disruptive approach to activism, as the deadline they gave the government to act on climate change, well, it approaches 5 o'clock. Our climate and energy correspondent Hannah Thomas-Peter joins me now. Hannah, so let's talk about the demands from the group. What do they want from the government?
Well, what they've said is they want the UK to stop approving new oil and gas extraction in the North Sea, or anywhere, but mainly in the North Sea. And they also want the government to create an emergency citizens' assembly to give the people more say in how to tackle the climate change issue. Now, it's, of course, very unlikely the government's going to do anything of the sort. In fact, they're pursuing a strategy that's completely the opposite of what Extinction Rebellion is asking for. The government is, in fact, expanding oil and gas extraction in the UK. In the North Sea, they see it as critical to their energy security policies, and they have been asked for a number of years now to create emergency citizens' assemblies, and they've done nothing of the sort. So we can assume the 5 p.m. deadline is going to come and go. What next? Well, Extinction Rebellion and others, there are other groups in this coalition that have joined here for this 4 days of protest. Well, they say they're going to do more now if the government ignores them to support strikers around the country. And separately, they're going to start thinking about stepping up a new campaign of civil disobedience. I think we'll see that from Just Stop Oil, who've already decided for the next indefinitely, is what they've said. Every day they're going to do slow marches and block major roads in the capital and beyond. And other members of the broader Extinction Rebellion group are going to now have a think about what they can target and when in order to step up the campaign a bit. But it is worth saying they're really very aware that gluing themselves to things, blocking roads, stopping people getting to work in particular, created a real public backlash, which is why earlier in the year Extinction Rebellion said it was going to step away from those kinds of tactics. And that's what we've seen here, actually, a real diversity of people attending these protests. The organisers say around 100,000 people have been here over the last 4 days, and plenty of people who've come to these protests for the first time.
And it comes, doesn't it, Hannah, on the big day. The government announces plans of this power line connecting the UK with the Netherlands. What do we know about that?
So this is the Lion Link. It's a new interconnector which would connect not just the UK and the Netherlands together, but the UK and the Netherlands to the same wind farms. And it's pretty unusual. There's only one other in the world like it. It's considered to be the gold standard for power sharing between allies. It allows a great deal of flexibility, so when one country needs the electricity, the other can stop, and vice versa. They can take electricity from the wind farms if the turbines are turning, and it doesn't get wasted because, of course, we don't have the battery storage capacity right now to store excess renewable energy. And this is all coming out of the North Sea Summit, which is happening in Belgium. The UK has been invited to it for the first time. The Lion Link, which could provide electricity for up to 2 million homes, is just one of the announcements, but we do understand there may be further announcements coming out this evening, potentially around a trading deal with Denmark. And then there might be something else as well about a new commitment between the North Sea nations to dramatically expand offshore wind power, in particular by creating turbine islands out in the North Sea.
OK, Hannah, thanks so much for that update. Let's take a look at some other stories making news today. And in Berlin, climate activists, well, they tried to bring traffic to a standstill this morning by gluing themselves to streets all over the capital. They had delayed the start of the all-electric Formula E race on Sunday. Warning, we're on the highway to the climate of hell. They're from the group called The Last Generation, and they climbed the fence and sat in front of cars on the starting grid. Well, new research has found that government plans for UK energy independence can't be met by drilling for more gas in the North Sea without reducing demand. The Energy and Climate Intelligence Unit say under current plans, the net imports of gas will rise by almost 60% by 2035. It also says the ramping up of new tech like heat pumps will reduce the country's overall reliance on gas. And the National Trust has kicked off its first ever Blossom Week, encouraging people to go outside and marvel at the flowers. Now, the Trust says the UK is currently at the epicentre of a blossom boom following the driest February in 30 years. Now, the carbon footprint of industries has put sectors such as power and steel in the spotlight as major contributors to climate change. And although the technology to aid transition to net zero is available, well, it's expensive and needs investment. And that's where the crucial role of the financial sector comes into play. And it's the first topic of discussion among financial leaders in London today. Our business presenter, Ian King, has the latest on the mood for sustainable investment from the city.
Welcome to Guildhall, here in the heart of the City of London, where I'm here for an event being hosted by the Corporation of London, City Week. It's a get-together of 1,000 industry leaders, the great and good of the financial services industry, and their key discussions on the matters of the day. Now, there are the three main themes this year. One is digitalisation, another is digital assets, and the third is climate change. And there have been a number of discussions here today around how to fund the transition to net zero. I've been speaking with Lord Brown. He's chair of Beyond Net Zero and, of course, also former chief executive of BP, where he was very much a pioneer in looking at non-carbon energy. And one of the things that he told me is that some $4 trillion is going to be required to fund this transition. I asked him where that money was going to come from and about the appetite of investors towards that. Here's what he told me.
That's an enormous amount of money. It needs the right incentives, the measurements, and it needs a great blend of public and private finance. And I made the point that the thing about private finance is it comes with companies, and companies are the best vehicle in the world to deliver. And they've got to deliver against measurable outcomes. And so we've got plenty more to do. Incentives are very good things. Taxes are also good, but in the US, incentives work better to actually push investment into things like carbon capture and storage, energy storage, these sorts of things, very important indeed. So we need to emulate that around the world.
So that was Lord Brown, one of the key figures in the financial services sector and, of course, the energy industry. I think the good news is that there is a willingness and a desire among investors to fund this transition. I think the bigger question is whether that willingness is going to meet with the timescale demanded by the public.
Now, just before we go, a reminder to watch The Climate Show with Tom Heap this weekend on Saturday and Sunday at 3 p.m. and 7:30 p.m.